How do I do that? Conveniently, the Bible doesn't tell us here. So this is Tyler's version of what this might look like. Okay. You call them up, say we need to talk. Don't have to go into great detail about it because you want to do this in person. You don't want to do this over the phone. Things are lost over the phone. Things are lost through text messages. It's not clear what you want to do and accomplish. You need to communicate clearly, and so in doing so, you call them and say, hey, we need to talk, and it needs to be in person. Secondly, I would say it needs to be a neutral location. Why do I say that? This is just logic and obvious. If it's at your house, they can leave at any time and you say something wrong, they're out the door. If it's at their house, now they're in the power position and there's this struggle, there's this conflict that can't get resolved in a healthy way because you're both vying for this, I need to be in this seat of power. So at your house, it's the same way. It's like, oh, I'm comfortable here. They're uncomfortable. Now I can say whatever I need to. Vice versa, you go to their house, it's the same thing. This is why I suggest a neutral location. Come to church. Go sit in the library. Somewhere where you're both either equally uncomfortable or equally comfortable. So there's not this power dynamic that takes place. So tell them you need to talk, do it in person, pick a neutral site, and as you're talking to them, as you're sharing with them, as you're trying to communicate to them, you have to be clear what you're trying to say. This is one of those moments where you cannot beat around the bush about it, right? We like to do that because we say, well, I have a conversation with somebody and I kind of implied maybe that they were wrong. No, that's not helpful. It's not helpful. Be clear, be direct, say this is what it was, this was the problem, this is my view on this particular issue. And talk to them in a clear, concise way. But here's the other kicker. You have to listen. Shocker, right? It's about a conversation with one another. You have to listen to the other person. Right? They're going to come back with something, and if you're calm about it, they'll come back with, well, I didn't see it that way. I didn't mean it that way. Or something happened in that wasn't me. It wasn't what I normally do, right? They're going to come back with some kind of rebuttal or retort to what you're saying. And so you need to be willing in that moment to listen. Communication's what? One person talking all the time? No, communication's a two-way street. We say the same thing about prayer. Is prayer a one-way only? No, prayer's a two-way street. We ask, and then we listen. God speaks, we respond. It's this dynamic of back and forth, back and forth. So that might happen in this way of communication. I get it. That sounds simple. I also get it that it's scary. But get this. There's no pressure on you to right the wrong. Do you understand this? You're bringing it to the person, but it's not in you to change the person. This is where the Holy Spirit gets involved. The Holy Spirit works in mysterious ways. God works in mysterious ways. So when we speak the truth in love, does God honor that? I believe He does. We have to be willing to do that. Because the bottom line is, if you bring correction, there are two outcomes. Jesus even tells us that. If you bring about correction, it's either they will agree they were wrong, or they won't. There's no other, well, maybe I was sort of kind of, no. They will or they won't. And clearly we have some other steps here that we can take if it's a won't. But if they do, what does Jesus tell us? If he listens to you, what happens? You have gained your brother.